I'm James Atkins and I'm doing second year media production, in which I'm doing multicam and digital media. LARP it's a very it's a more active hobby, but it's not strictly a sport. It's kind of it's a very active, moving around, a lot of it's very story based, and it's something that a lot of people don't think of when they think of hobbies, but is actually quite interesting when you get into it. In its essence, it's hitting people with foam swords with rules based around hitting people with foam swords and sometimes other foam weapons. Mostly when you say hitting people with foam swords, you see the people who just interested in things like that just light up. They just seem interested in that sort of thing, and with some it's like with Nerf guns, you can see people in the they're being dragged along by someone else in the society's fair, just looking longingly at a big pile of Nerf guns while they're being dragged off. Tabletop games like D&D, it's adding people like those for the story and whatever. This is adding another interactive thing, because you're not rolling a dice to see if you hit, you're swinging your arm to see if you hit. Not really, because it has the thing of it's broad enough where it gets a lot of different courses from from courses you don't necessarily meet, because with some it may attract very specific people, with some only members of the humanities or the computing ones will come, but it's so broad that anyone can go. We've got people from media, computer science, criminology. We have one person who's doing jewellery. You just attract a lot of people from a lot of different societies and lets you meet different people. And we're planning on going a trip to one of the events, but there's ones everywhere. I believe a friend was telling me, I think there's one in Poland recreating a battle between Polish and Prussian forces, a skirmish from back then, but there's ones everywhere really. And one we're looking into is called Lorien Trust, because a lot of them are just kind of an organisation that organise them with their own rule sets. Ones that are proper reenactment that can be a good 100 people. There's ones that are smaller ones, which is a series of smaller skirmishes. The Lorien Trust, which is the one we're interested in, is just a fantasy universe. You've got your elves, your goblins and whatever, and it's that kind of thing. It depends, because it can be for either, because you can throw in a lot of different elements with fantasy. You can say there's magic, but it didn't happen in history, but magic. So.
Hi, I'm Jim. I'm a second year Jewellery and Object student, and I'm the social secretary for the LARP Society. You can buy it online. I personally, because I just like making things anyway, I make my own gear. This sword was one of my own made. But you can buy it online. Basically type in LARP into Google and 1,000 retail websites come up. The core is usually fiberglass or carbon fibre, and then it's a special kind of tear resistant foam with latex over the top. So still sting a bit depending on what foam people use. It comes down to people's personalities. If some people see themselves, again with the characters sort of thing, they see themselves more as an assassin, they might use daggers. Me myself, I prefer long swords. Some people just depends on what your personality is. If you see yourself as a fancy swordsman, you'll go for the long swords. If you see yourself as a brute, you'll go for the big axes and maces. Me personally, I prefer dual wielding long swords, so two swords roughly about 100 centimetres in length. I fancy myself a bit as a swordsman.
I'm Jay Carey and I'm doing criminology and forensics, first year.
I'm Harry and I am not a student, so...
I became interested in LARP a few years ago because I was looking at reenactment groups, but because I was quite young to do anything combat-wise, LARP had an option of combat for my age group. And from there I went to the Lorien Trust, which is the largest system in this country. It has a minimum of 1,000 people, and includes things like rituals, various forms of entertainment, and massive battles. It's kind of like a improvised play. You have a basic script and you just sort of work off it. I've never done one before, but I've watched a few, and they can be very boring, from people just walking around chanting in a circle to this full-on humorous and sort of crowd participation thing. It was really good.
There's a zombie LARP which runs in Germany with a couple of thousand people, that runs over a weekend or a week at an abandoned army base.
Begun about, not including this year, 2 years ago, I believe.
I've been involved in LARP with the society, well, since the beginning of last year when I signed up. I've been interested in LARP for a few years before, but only really joined in last year. I thought it'd be something interesting to do. When I joined, the communication was a bit naff, so I took over as social secretary, just to try and speed up communication, get things happening, sort of thing.
I arrived as a fresher, saw the Freshers' Fair, found it interesting and decided to join. And when it became to becoming the president, I decided to run, decided it could be interesting, ran, and I got the position. Mostly people getting injured.
It was a game that we did last year that just, the way that it was run and the system just didn't work, and the idea was you're meant to be 10 vampires and everyone meant to be lynching one human, and it ended up everyone taking turns to punch him, and it just went on forever. In game, of course, not actually.
I'd say that LARP is quite close-knit because everyone just seems to get along with each other. We haven't had any fallout. It's really too small of a society to have a big fallout because everyone knows each other, really. Also, you're meeting a lot of people outside of your course because it's just people from all over different courses. And everyone just kind of gets along, similar interests and not much disagreements on things.
I'd say, yeah, I mean, after most sessions, we just do as just a general thing. We often head to the student bar, just because that's kind of what we do. And sometimes a couple of members run role-playing games or trading card games at their house, which is pretty integral to the group, really.
It's just kind of like keeping it going. The general way is to just make sure things are happening, because we've built the core thing of we managed to secure equipment for the society itself. Managed to make a bid for £349 to get some stuff, so we're not reliant on people bringing in the other stuff. It's just kind of like keeping it going, getting things organised, and just making sure that it keeps rolling and doesn't fall off the face of the earth, really.